The thing about humans is that they look like they would shatter if you sneezed too hard in their direction. That is what I thought anyway, sitting in the observation deck of the Galactic Combat Academy, watching this tiny, bipedal creature limp into the sparring arena like she had already lost the fight before it even started. Her name was Kira Vex. Human. 5'4", maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. With arms so thin, I genuinely wondered how she lifted her own datapad. Next to her stood Gorthak the Immovable, a Kraznari warrior who had earned 17 battle honors in the frontier wars and could bench press a hover transport. He was 8 feet tall. His biceps had biceps. His exoskeleton gleamed under the arena lights like polished obsidian. I turned to my nestmate Quillix, clicking my mandibles in amusement. This is going to be embarrassing. For whom? Quillix asked, tilting his compound eyes toward the arena floor. For everyone watching, obviously. Look at her. Kira Vex stood in the center circle, rolling her shoulders like she was warming up for a nap. Not a sanctioned combat trial. Her instructor, a grizzled Vorthian named Commander Rulk, had apparently tried to talk her out of this. 3 times. She had signed the waiver anyway, the waiver that specifically mentioned permanent injury, death, psychological trauma, the usual disclaimers when organic beings decided to punch each other for academic credit. Gorthak cracked his neck, a sound like breaking timber, and grinned down at her. His tusks gleamed. Human, I will try to be gentle. Your bones look very, very fragile. She looked up at him, hands on her hips, and smiled. It was not a nice smile. Yeah? Well, your face looks very, very punchable. The crowd laughed. I laughed. Quillix made that weird clicking sound he does when he thinks something is about to go horribly wrong. The referee, a floating drone with a synthesized voice that somehow managed to sound bored, announced the rules. Standard engagement protocols. No lethal strikes. No weapons. Fight until submission, knockout, or referee intervention. Medical teams on standby. Gorthak shifted into a combat stance, fists raised, weight balanced. He had trained at the academy for 3 years. He had studied 17 different martial disciplines. He moved with the precision of someone who understood leverage, force distribution, kinetic energy transfer. Kira Vex put her hands in her pockets. "Begin!" the drone announced. Gorthak laughed. Actually, laughed. A deep, rumbling sound that echoed off the arena walls. "Human, you are not even ready." "Oh, I am ready," she said, still not removing her hands from her pockets. "I am just trying to decide which bone of yours I want to break first." He lunged. "Now, I have watched a lot of fights. Gladiatorial combat is basically the only thing worth watching on Galactic Network 3, aside from those cooking shows where they try to make edible food out of asteroid minerals." Gorthak moved fast for someone his size, closing the distance in 2 massive strides, right fist cocked back for a devastating haymaker that would have sent most beings into next week. Kira Vex stepped 3 inches to the left. His fist went past her head, missing by a margin so narrow I swear I saw her hair move. She finally took her hands out of her pockets. One hand snapped up, grabbed his extended wrist, twisted. His entire body weight committed to the forward momentum, suddenly redirected. Physics did the rest. Gorthak stumbled, off balance, confusion flickering across his face. Her other hand formed a fist. Small, compact, human. She drove it into his jaw. The sound was incredible. A sharp crack that cut through the ambient noise of the arena like a gunshot. Gorthak's head snapped sideways. His eyes went wide. His knees wobbled. He dropped like a severed cargo container. The arena went silent. I mean completely, utterly silent. 300 cadets from 47 different species, all staring at the unconscious mountain of muscle and chitin sprawled on the mat. Kira Vex shook out her hand, wincing slightly. Ow. Okay. That hurt more than I thought it would. The medical drone swooped in, scanners active, chirping urgently. Commander Ralk vaulted over the arena barrier, which was impressive considering Vorthians are not exactly built for acrobatics. He knelt beside Gorthak, checking vitals, then looked up at the med drone. Fractured mandible, the drone reported in its flat, affectless voice. 3 distinct breakpoints. Severe concussion. Recommend immediate medical suspension. Commander Ralk stared at Kira. What did you hit him with? She held up her fist. This? That is impossible. Tell that to his face. Quillix turned to me, mandibles vibrating in what I eventually recognized as shock. Did that just happen? I think so? I was not entirely sure. My brain was still trying to process the fact that the human, the fragile little human with the twig arms and the breakable skeleton, had just knocked out one of the Academy's top-ranked fighters in 3 seconds. 3 seconds. The medical team loaded Gorthak onto a hover stretcher and whisked him away. Kira Vex walked off the mat, flexing her fingers, muttering something about needing ice. The rest of the day passed in a blur of rumors and wild speculation. By lunch, the story had grown legs. By dinner, it had sprouted wings and possibly a second set of arms. I heard everything from secret human cybernetic implants to advanced exoskeleton technology to some kind of chemical enhancement that turned their fragile bodies into kinetic weapons. I decided to investigate. Finding Kira Vex was not difficult. Humans, it turns out, are predictable creatures of habit. She was in the Academy gym, of all places, wrapping her knuckles with some kind of white cloth. Her right hand was swollen, knuckles bruised a deep purple that looked painful, even from across the room. Can I ask you something? I approached cautiously, keeping my voice polite. She looked up, eyebrows raised. Sure. How did you do that? To Gorthak. He is twice your size, 3 times your weight. You should not have been able to hurt him. She smiled that same not-nice smile from the arena. Should not have? Yes, physically, biologically. It does not make sense. You want to know the secret? I nodded eagerly. She leaned in, lowering her voice like she was sharing classified intelligence. Humans are fragile. Our bones break easily. Our skin tears. We do not have armor plating or redundant organ systems or regenerative capabilities. We are soft, squishy, and evolutionarily speaking, kind of ridiculous. Yes, exactly my point. So we got really, really good at breaking other things before they could break us. I blinked. That is it? That is the secret? That is it. We studied anatomy. We learned where the weak points are. Jaw, temple, solar plexus, knee. We figured out leverage, momentum, force multiplication. We practiced. A lot. And then we taught everyone. Because on our planet, you never knew when something bigger and meaner was going to try to eat you. But Gorthak trained for years, multiple disciplines. He is a decorated warrior? Yeah, and he telegraphed that punch from across the arena. I saw it coming 3 seconds before he threw it. Big does not mean good. Strong does not mean skilled. He thought he won the moment he stepped onto the mat, because I looked like I would shatter. That was his first mistake. What was his second mistake? Laughing at me. She finished wrapping her hand, flexed her fingers experimentally. You want some advice? Free of charge? Sure. Never underestimate something just because it looks fragile. Humans spent millions of years surviving on a death world that actively tried to kill us every single day. We did not survive because We were the strongest. We survived because we were smart, adaptable, and willing to do whatever it took to keep breathing. And we remember that. All of us. It is written into our DNA at this point. She stood up, grabbed her water bottle, and headed for the door. "Wait," I called after her. "What happens now?" "Gorthak is going to be furious when he wakes up. He will want a rematch. His honor will demand it." Kira paused at the doorway, looking back over her shoulder. "Then I will break something else. Maybe his pride this time. That usually takes longer to heal." She left. I stood there in the empty gym, processing everything she had said, trying to reconcile the image of the fragile human with the reality of what I had just witnessed. Quillix found me an hour later, still standing in the same spot. "You look troubled," he observed. "I am rethinking my entire understanding of threat assessment." "Because of the human?" "Because of the human." News of the fight spread beyond the academy. By the end of the week, requests started pouring in. Other cadets wanted to spar with her. Not Kraznari warriors nursing their wounded pride, but curious beings from a dozen different species who suddenly realized they knew absolutely nothing about human combat capabilities. Commander Ralk, to his credit, tried to manage the situation. He instituted a waiting list, a formal request system, safety protocols, liability waivers that somehow grew even longer and more ominous than the original ones. Kira Vex agreed to demonstration matches, educational purposes only. She would show techniques, explain principles, answer questions, but she made it clear, in her polite but unmistakably firm way, that anyone who stepped onto the mat thinking it would be easy was going to have a bad day. I signed up immediately, not because I wanted to fight her. I am not suicidal. I signed up because I wanted to understand. How does something so small become so dangerous? What was I missing? What were we all missing? My session was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon, in a smaller training room away from the main arena. Just me, Kira, Commander Ralk observing from the corner, and a medical drone hovering nervously by the door like it was expecting casualties. "Relax," Kira said, reading my body language. "We are not going to fight. I am going to show you some things. You are going to try not to panic. Sound good?" "I am not panicking. Your antennae are vibrating so fast they are humming. That is panic." She was right. I consciously stilled them. "Okay," she began, moving to the center of the mat. "Humans are persistence hunters. Do you know what that means?" "Not really." "It means we do not run fast. We do not have claws or venom or natural weapons, but we can run forever. We can track prey for days, weeks if necessary, until it collapses from exhaustion. That trait, that relentless endurance, shows up in everything we do, including combat." She demonstrated a basic stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, hands up, protecting the face. Balance is everything. If I am balanced, I am stable. If I am stable, I can generate power. If I can generate power, I can hurt something much bigger than me. She motioned me forward. "Try to push me over." I hesitated. "Go on. Use both hands. Really try." I placed my primary manipulators against her shoulders and pushed. She did not move. At all. It was like trying to topple a statue bolted to the floor. "See? Stance? Balance? Now watch." She shifted her weight slightly, angling her body, and suddenly I was pushing against nothing. My momentum carried me forward. She stepped aside. I stumbled. "Redirection," she explained. "I did not stop your force. I moved it somewhere else. Let physics do the work." We spent 2 hours going through basics: strikes, blocks, joint locks, throws. Every technique had a principle behind it. Leverage, momentum, anatomy. She explained how a human fist, properly formed and properly delivered, could generate enough force per square inch to fracture bone. How targeting specific nerve clusters could shut down limbs. How a well-placed strike to the throat could disable breathing. It was terrifying. Not because of the techniques themselves, but because of the casual way she explained them. Like she was teaching me how to prepare a meal, not how to dismantle an opponent with surgical precision. "Why do humans know all of this?" I finally asked. She considered the question. "Because we had to. Our planet is dangerous. Was dangerous. Still is in some places. We had predators that could smell us from miles away. Poisons that could kill us in seconds. Weather that could freeze or cook us depending on the season. We did not have the luxury of being complacent. So we learned. We adapted. We created systems, martial arts, entire philosophies around the idea of defeating opponents who were stronger, faster, better equipped. But you have technology now, weapons, defenses. Sure, but technology fails, weapons jam, defenses break. Your body, your skills, those are always with you. They cannot be hacked or disabled or taken away. That reliability matters." Commander Ralk approached, having watched the entire session in silence. "Human Vex, I have a question." "Sir?" "If humans are this capable, why do you let the galaxy think you are weak?" She laughed. Actually laughed, head thrown back, genuine amusement. "Oh, Commander, we do not let anyone think anything. They assume. And we let them assume. Because underestimation is a weapon too. If someone thinks I am fragile, they get careless. They make mistakes. They leave openings. And by the time they realize their error, it is usually too late." She looked at me, then back at Ralk. "Besides, we are not trying to prove anything to anyone. We know what we are capable of. That is enough." Later that night, I found myself in the Academy archives, searching through humanity's historical records. What I found was simultaneously fascinating and horrifying. Humans had been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. Not just wars, though they had plenty of those, but organized combat, sports, entertainment. They had created hundreds of different fighting styles, each refined over centuries, each designed to exploit weaknesses in anatomy and psychology. Boxing, wrestling, various forms of martial arts with names I could not pronounce. They had systematic approaches to violence that other species had never needed because they had natural weapons or armor or size advantages. Humans had none of those things, so they built advantages out of knowledge, practice, and sheer bloody-minded determination. And now they were out among the stars, looking fragile and harmless, letting everyone think they were one of the weaker species in the galactic community. I thought about Gorthak, still in medical suspension, jaw wired shut, ego shattered. I thought about Kira Vex, casually rapping her bruised knuckles, explaining biomechanics like it was basic arithmetic. I thought about every human I had ever dismissed as inconsequential because they looked so breakable. Quillix was right. This was going to change everything. 3 weeks after Kira Vex shattered Gorthak's jaw and my entire worldview, the Academy announced its annual Interspecies Combat Tournament. This was supposed to be a friendly competition, a chance for cadets to demonstrate their skills in front of scouts from various military organizations, corporate security firms, and occasionally shadier entities that no one talked about openly. The prize was substantial: a full scholarship to the Advanced Tactical Institute, a guaranteed posting with one of the elite defense fleets, and bragging rights that would last a lifetime. Naturally, every species wanted to prove they were superior. The Kraznari entered a team, led by Gorthak's cousin, a mountain of rage named Thrak, who had sworn a blood oath to avenge his family's honor. The Vorthians sent their best. The sectoid collective submitted 3 fighters who moved with eerie synchronization. Even the normally peaceful Quillen registered participants, which surprised everyone because Quillen philosophy specifically forbids violence, except in cases of extreme necessity. And then there were the humans. Kira Vex signed up, obviously, but she was not alone. 2 other humans joined her. Marcus Liu, a quiet guy from the engineering program who looked like he had never thrown a punch in his life, and Isabella Torres, who stood barely 5 feet tall and smiled constantly, which somehow made her more unsettling than if she had walked around scowling. The betting pools went crazy. Most species put their credits on the Kraznari. Some hedge bets went to the Vorthians. A few optimistic fools backed the sectoids. The humans? The odds were 47-1 against them. I put a substantial amount of credits on the humans. Quillix thought I had lost my mind. You saw 1 fight. 1. That does not mean the entire species is combat proficient. Did you read the historical files I sent you? I started to. Then I got uncomfortable and stopped. They have been perfecting violence for thousands of years, Quillix. Thousands. This is not luck. This is specialization. The tournament began on a Saturday morning, which seemed unnecessarily early for organized violence, but apparently humans prefer morning activities. Something about circadian rhythms and optimal performance windows. I did not pretend to understand their biology. The format was straightforward. 3-person teams, elimination brackets, mix of individual duels and group engagements, fight until submission, incapacitation, or the medical drones intervene. The humans drew the Quillen in the first round, which seemed like good fortune for them. Quillen are not warriors. They are philosophers, scientists, poets. Their representative team consisted of 3 scholars who had reluctantly agreed to participate because their dean insisted they needed more physical activity. The fight lasted 90 seconds. Marcus Liu moved like water, deflecting strikes that were not even aimed at him yet, anticipating movements before they happened. He put 1 Quillen into a joint lock so complex I needed 3 replays to understand what happened. The Quillen tapped out immediately, making distressed whistling sounds. Isabella Torres fought with a smile that never wavered, even when her opponent tried to use their superior reach advantage. She got inside their guard, delivered 3 rapid strikes to nerve clusters I did not even know Quillen possessed, and her opponent simply collapsed, conscious but completely unable to move. Kira Vex ended her match with a throw that sent her opponent tumbling across the mat. They landed, unharmed but thoroughly defeated, and actually apologized for wasting everyone's time. The crowd murmured. Odds started shifting. Second round, the humans faced a Drakon team. Drakons are reptilian, cold-blooded in both temperature and temperament, with reflexes fast enough to snatch flying insects out of the air. They fight with precision, patience, and absolutely zero mercy. This fight lasted 3 minutes. The Drakons came out aggressive, trying to overwhelm with speed. Marcus caught the first one with a counterstrike that probably would have killed a human but merely stunned the Drakon long enough for a follow-up. Isabella fought her opponent to a standstill, matching speed with technique, until she found an opening and exploited it with ruthless efficiency. Kira faced the Drakon team leader, a scarred veteran named Slethix, who had won 17 consecutive tournaments. He was faster than her, stronger than her, more experienced. She won anyway. I watched the replay 4 times trying to understand how. She baited him into overextending, redirected his momentum, and used his own strength against him. When he hit the mat, unconscious, his teammates stared in disbelief. The betting odds shifted dramatically. Humans were now 12-1. Quarter-finals. The humans drew the sectoids, those creepy, synchronized fighters who moved like they shared a brain. Maybe they did. Sectoid neurology was weird. This fight was different. The sectoids adapted, learned from previous matches, coordinated their attacks with mathematical precision. They pushed the humans hard, forcing them to work together, to cover each other, to compensate for the sectoids' numerical advantage in processing power. Marcus took a hit that would have broken ribs if humans had less dense bones. He shook it off. Isabella got caught in a grapple and somehow turned it into a throw that sent two sectoids tumbling. Kira fought all three simultaneously for about 30 seconds while her teammates recovered. And I swear she was enjoying herself. The humans won. Barely. But they won. Semi-finals. The humans faced the Vorthian team, which included Commander Ralk's own son, a terrifying specimen named Drex, who had graduated top of his combat class 3 years running. The crowd was enormous now. Word had spread beyond the academy. News feeds picked up the story. Apparently, watching humans fight was becoming entertainment for multiple sectors. The Vorthians were good, really good. They used teamwork, tactics, superior strength. Drex personally fought like a natural disaster given physical form. The humans were better, not stronger, not faster, but better. They moved like they had fought together for years instead of weeks. They communicated without words, tiny gestures and positioning that spoke volumes. They adapted to Vorthian tactics mid-fight, adjusted strategies on the fly, exploited micro-openings that appeared and vanished in fractions of a second. When Marcus put Drex into a submission hold that should have been physically impossible given their size difference, the crowd erupted. Humans were now 3-1 favorites, which brought us to the finals. Humans versus Kraznari. Thrak and his team had demolished every opponent. They fought with barely controlled rage, each victory a step toward avenging Gorthak's humiliation. They were bigger, stronger, and absolutely furious. The arena was packed, standing room only. I counted representatives from 43 different species, all crammed in to watch this unlikely matchup. The humans entered last, walking calmly, looking completely unbothered by the weight of expectation. Kira led, followed by Marcus and Isabella. They wore simple training gear, no armor, no enhancements, just soft, fragile human bodies. Thrak glared at them from across the arena, fists clenched. "You humiliated my blood. Today, I restore our honor." Kira smiled. That smile. "You are welcome to try." The referee drone outlined the rules. This was a group engagement, all 6 fighters active simultaneously. Fight until one team submitted or could no longer continue. "Begin!" Thrak charged immediately. A straight bull rush aimed at Kira. His teammates flanked, trying to surround the humans. The humans scattered. Not retreat. Tactical repositioning. Suddenly, the Kraznari were not surrounding anyone. They were spread out, separated, and the humans were moving between them like smoke. Marcus engaged one Kraznari, using footwork to stay mobile, landing strikes to joints and pressure points. His opponent roared, frustrated by the inability to land a solid hit. Isabella fought another, staying low, attacking legs, destabilizing balance. Her opponent kept trying to grab her. She kept not being there. Kira faced Thrak. "Stand still and fight!" he bellowed, swinging massive fists. "No," she replied, slipping past his guard. What followed was possibly the most technical display of fighting I had ever witnessed. Thrak was strong, devastatingly strong. One solid hit would have ended the fight. But Kira did not let him land one solid hit. She moved constantly, attacked angles, used his momentum against him, targeted the same spots repeatedly until his movements slowed. Marcus finished his opponent with a throw that left the Kraznari gasping for air. He immediately pivoted to assist Isabella, who had her opponent off balance. Together, they orchestrated a takedown that looked choreographed but was pure improvisation. That left Thrak alone, facing 3 humans. He knew he had lost. You could see it in his eyes. But Kraznari honor demanded he continue. He charged one last time. The humans moved as one unit. Marcus swept his legs. Isabella controlled his fall. Kira applied a chokehold that cut blood flow to his brain without damaging his throat. 10 seconds later, Thrak went limp. The medical drone confirmed unconsciousness, but no serious injury. The referee declared the humans victorious. The arena exploded with noise. Cheering, clicking, whistling, whatever sounds each species made to express shock and excitement. I found myself making sounds I did not know I could make. Quillix grabbed my arm. Did we just watch humans win a combat tournament against species literally designed for fighting? We did. That should not be possible. And yet, the awards ceremony was strange. The tournament organizers seemed unsure how to handle this outcome. They presented the scholarship certificates, the fleet postings, the ceremonial weapons that human hands were too small to properly wield. Kira accepted everything graciously, then asked if she could say something. The crowd quieted. "We did not win because we are special," she began. "We won because we prepared. We studied our opponents. We trained together. We covered each other's weaknesses. That is not a human trait. That is a universal principle. Any species can do what we did. You just have to be willing to acknowledge your limitations and work to overcome them." She paused, looking around the arena. "Humans are fragile. We know this. We have always known this. But fragility teaches you to be careful, to be smart, to find advantages where none obviously exist. That lesson is available to everyone." Thrak, conscious again but thoroughly humiliated, approached. For a moment, I thought there might be more violence. Instead, he extended his massive hand. Kira shook it. "You fight with honor," he said quietly. "I was wrong to underestimate you. I appreciate that. For what it is worth, you are incredibly strong. If you combine that strength with better technique, you would be nearly unstoppable." "Would you teach me?" She grinned. "Absolutely." Over the following months, something shifted at the academy. Humans became sought-after training partners. Their combat classes filled immediately. Other species started studying human anatomy, not to exploit weaknesses, but to understand principles. The revelation was simple, but profound. Strength was not just physical. Speed was not just biological. Combat effectiveness came from knowledge, practice, adaptability. Humans had spent millennia learning these lessons on a world that actively tried to kill them. Now, they were sharing those lessons with the galaxy. I graduated that year, top of my tactical analysis program. My thesis focused on asymmetric combat advantages in physiologically diverse combat scenarios. Basically, a fancy way of saying how small things can beat big things if they are smart enough. Kira Vex went on to become an instructor at the Advanced Tactical Institute. Marcus Liu designed training programs now used across 6 sectors. Isabella Torres joined an elite protection detail guarding diplomats in contested zones. And Gorthak? His jaw healed eventually. He actually became friends with Kira, training with her regularly, learning to combine Kraznari strength with human technique. As for me, I never made the mistake of underestimating something based on appearance again, because I learned what the galaxy was slowly learning. Humans are not weak. They are efficient. They are not fragile. They are adaptable. And they did not survive on a death world by being easy to break. They survived by becoming very, very good at breaking everything else first. I keep that lesson close. It has served me well. And whenever someone asks me about humans, about why they punch above their weight class, why they succeed in situations that should overwhelm them, I tell them the same thing Kira told me in that gym so many months ago. Never underestimate something just because it looks fragile. Because fragility teaches lessons that strength never learns. And those lessons, applied correctly, can change everything.